Steve Adubato here, and we're honored to be joined by Barbara George Johnson, Vice President, External Affairs at Kean University, and also she heads up the John S. Watson Institute for Urban Policy and Research at Kean University. You're the Executive Director there, is that not right?
Hello, Steve. Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here, so thank you for having me. And I am Executive Director of the John S. Watson Institute for Urban Policy and Research at Kean University. A mouthful.
Yeah, I know it is, but the beauty of this is that we just, Kean University is one of our newest higher ed partners, and we were talking to Dr. Lamont Repollet, the president at Kean. We were brainstorming about what we could and should be focusing on, and we came up with a series, you'll see right up on the screen right now, Urban Matters, and the John S. Watson Institute dedicated to urban policy issues. Barbara, what are the top 2 or 3 urban issues that not only that the Institute is focusing on, but that we as a state and nation should be focusing on?
Oh my goodness, top 3 is difficult, but let me start by saying that we're looking at, after the shootings in Texas, increased gun violence across the country, right? So we're looking at how we deal as a policy office and doing the research necessary to create the policies that are going to change that circumstance and that reality in the state of New Jersey and across the country.
First of all, we're doing literally a couple of days, we're taping a couple of days after that horrific shooting. We hope and pray, you know the rest of it,
yes.
But that's when we're taping. Go ahead, gun violence. Next.
So, in the most advanced nation in the world, we have to do something about that. We're also interested in looking at infrastructure because, again, as we deal with the various natural disasters that have occurred, not only in New Jersey, but across the country, we're talking that we just came off of Ida, which was a storm that was so unexpected back in September of 2021. So we have to look at infrastructure. We have to look at climate adaptation and mitigation, and urban communities are typically not a part of that conversation as we think of our shoreline most of the time. But in reality, we have old infrastructure. So we have to look at storm water mitigation, how we deal with various aspects of greening in our community, and how we look at decreasing the climate concerns with increased heat in our urban spaces by increased trees and canopy. So we're working on those issues as well.
Before you move to another issue, environmental justice, particularly for urban communities, define what that means to you.
So we have the Center for the Urban Environment at the Watson Institute, and environmental justice is critical. It applies to the overburdened communities that are mostly Black and brown, where incinerators, increased particulate matter pollution occurs because of the number of industry and factories and so forth that have been the bedrock of urban spaces for a number of decades. So
yeah, let's put it there. Let's put it there,
yes.
Right?
Yes, exactly.
There is where people are. Go ahead,
There's where people are. And we have to understand that that comes from a history of federal regulations that dealt with redlining and creating devalued spaces in our urban centers where investment was lacking for decades, and where they did put industry, where they did put the smokestacks. So now that we're dealing on the back end of that, environmental justice says, let us have equity and equality across all playing fields. Let's ensure that all of our communities have clean air, right? Playgrounds and places that young people can play. Let's decrease the asthma levels that are due to particulate matter pollution. And I'm happy to say that Dr. Nikki Sheets, who's a director of the Center for the Environmental Justice program at the Watson Institute and works with the New Jersey Environmental Justice Alliance across the state, they were able to have the first cumulative impact legislation in the country, which helps to reduce emissions from smokestacks, et cetera, or assesses bringing in new development that will cause an impact or a burden on that community. So we're very excited to lead the nation in that.
And stay on that. The issues of environmental justice you're talking about connected directly to healthcare. The incidence of asthma in urban communities is in many ways directly connected to the environmental issues you're talking about. Can we talk, Barbara, about urban issues around healthcare? Disparities in healthcare, disproportionately Black and brown mothers and babies. Just it's a horrific situation. We actually had the governor's, the First Lady, Tammy Murphy, on talking about Nurture NJ, her initiative, deal with maternal health. Talk about healthcare issues in urban communities, particularly for women and babies.
So let me start by saying that we can't disaggregate healthcare from anything else, right? Because it's poverty. Poverty is at the core, and discrimination and race are at the core of the health issues that impact urban communities. When we had COVID-19 and we're still going through the pandemic, but at the very beginning, we noticed that our essential workers were the ones getting sick, ones that were in the hospitals dying, and we realized that those are lower income, lower paid jobs, which typically went to Black and Brown communities and people who live in those communities. And so we have to include race, poverty, and discrimination when we talk about healthcare in urban communities. We also saw the exacerbation of chronic illness, so asthma, diabetes, hypertension, and all of those things are connected to women and health also when we're talking about maternal health, right? So I am very much aware of the Nurture New Jersey, the First Lady's Initiative. I've been a part of the steering committee working with the First Lady for a number of years on Black maternal and infant health in particular. Unfortunately, Black mothers in New Jersey are 7 times more likely to die during childbirth than white women. Black infants are 3 times more likely to die in the first year of life than white babies. And this is historical. And so it disturbs me. And I will tell you, Steve, that in the beginning of my career, in the mid 80s, I worked as a health provider, health policy and advocate for Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies, looking at advising women on, again, healthy pregnancies, healthy birth, the whole prenatal experience and postnatal experience. And here we are 20 plus years later, having the same conversations. So the goal, and the Watson Institute is working with the First Lady's office. We are in the process of conducting a community engagement and environmental scan of the city of Trenton as the state looks to create a maternal and infant health institute. And the hope is that we will never have to go back to having this discussion, that we will equal the playing field and bring equity to this conversation about Black maternal health.
Well, let me do this. You know, I keep talking about the John S. Watson Institute for Urban Policy and Research at Kean University, as if everyone knows who John Watson was and why he mattered so much. And we're going to be doing a feature on John Watson, who I served with way back in the day. You're talking about in the 80s, mid 80s. I served with him in the state legislature for a short time. His daughter, Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman, we'll be having her on talking about her dad, a part of a new series we're doing called Remember Them. The reason I'm asking you this is a synopsis of who John Watson was and why John Watson mattered so much.
Absolutely. I'm honored every day to do this work under the name of John S. Watson. John Watson was an assemblyman in the state of New Jersey, but more importantly, he was a statesman. So he worked across both sides of the aisle. And every time I meet someone who is Republican or Democrat, they speak very highly of John Watson, what he was able to do in his various roles in community and how he supported the state and supported the opportunity to have healthy, safe communities across the state, and particularly in Mercer County in the city of Trenton. So he was also the first chair of an appropriations committee, African-American chair of an appropriations committee across the country. And so that is something that was also, something that we admire and that we're happy to be, again, associated with that name and the person.
I served on that Finance and Appropriation Committee when he was the chair, and he was a mentor for me and so many other legislators who really didn't understand the job. And he was just an extraordinary person that we need to remember. So thank you. Before I let you go, I just want to remind everyone that, or let everyone know that you've been named to former Majority Leader in the Senate, Loretta Watson. Loretta Weinberg. I apologize for that Freudian slip. She has this power list now, and Loretta Weinberg knows who matters. And you made the 2021 Women's Power List that Senator Weinberg put together. That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. I knew Senator Weinberg when I started my career at the ACLU. So Senator Weinberg was one of the first senators that I worked with on domestic partnership legislation. So I know her very well, and we've worked together throughout the years, and I so appreciate and was honored to be identified as someone to join her list.
Hey, Barbara, thank you to you and Dr. Reppelette and everyone at Kean University. We look forward to more conversations in our Urban Matters series. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve.
You guys stay with us. We'll be right back.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by Fedway Associates, Inc., Delta Dental of New Jersey, the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, New Brunswick Development Corporation, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Seton Hall University, the Russell Berry Foundation, Investors Bank, and by the Adler Aphasia Center. Promotional support provided by New Jersey Monthly and by NJ.com.
This is the Seton Hall story, one that comes to life every day on our campus. This is the place where great minds discover, innovate, collaborate, and find their true calling. This is the place where passion has a purpose, where learning inspires leading. The bonds we make, the values we teach, inspire our community to take heart and take action. This is Seton Hall University. This is what great minds can do.